The following is a Spirit Street production. You've discovered your link to the Powercat Podcast, presented by Fridge Wholesale Liquor. It's the Powercat Podcast. And now, let's go to the Spirit Street Studios. Here's your host, Go Powercat publisher, Tim Fitzgerald.
Welcome to another edition of the Powercat Podcast, the first one from our new podcasting studio. The Absolute Purple studio for today, at least, in honor of our builder slash construction foreman slash contractor slash free labor dude, my buddy. This is a nice setup, guys. It looks like a real radio booth if you take a picture from the right angle.
Yes, correct.
We have a little podcasting island back here in our new studios that we're still constructing, and we're really excited about the studios. It'll enable us to do some really neat stuff, some stuff that nobody else is doing. We have a video set that is about a week, maybe 2 weeks away from completion. Need a little more lighting, we've discovered. We're going to put that in. We've got a stand-up spot for analysis with a monitor. We've got a stand-up spot with a really cool background that I think we're going to do some stuff on a weekly basis from, all in a very confined space. Don't trip over the wires. Welcome to the studio, because there's lights everywhere too. But anyhow, we're excited to be back here. We hope it sounds a little bit better. We're away from the street where we were in my office. We're away from some of the other noise, and we're much better soundproofed. This is the Powercat Podcast, sponsored by Fridge Wholesale Liquor, and of course we're the gang from GoPowercat.com. Tim Fitzgerald, Riley Gates, Zach Carlson. And everything's been going great here. We're plugging away on construction, finally made breakthroughs, and today the printer died.
Yeah, it was bad.
We now have 3 printers, none of which work. So we have some... Bill Snyder would be proud of our consistency in that area.
That it doesn't work?
All 3 of them.
Oh.
We're very consistent.
I mean, do we know that the other 2 don't work?
They both have serious issues. One thinks it's a paper jam and there's no paper jam. And the other one, we think it's card went out, because it is from 1998 when we started the magazine in 98. And it's a really good, been reliable, and then just went.
Interesting.
But we're plugging away. You know what is very reliable is the Fridge Wholesale Liquor. Get on down to the Fridge at the corner of Westport and Claflin. You can get in there and buy everything that makes your liver go wee.
What? That's the weirdest ad I think I've ever heard.
Make your liver happy. Stop into the Fridge.
All right. There you go. That's a better one. I think you should do that one instead of whatever makes your liver say wee.
Wee. Go visit Kevin and the gang at the Fridge Wholesale Liquor. They've been sponsoring us for many, many years, and we hope to continue this relationship. And they are just great people and a great place to buy your booze needs.
I drive over there.
Oh, yeah. It's...
And I'm 2 minutes from another establishment that involves
alcohol.
I'm not going to name it, but it's
eyewear?
Yes, eyewear, yes.
Huh.
Eyewear and something that you drink.
Alcohol eyewear.
Yes, let's just put those together and you can figure out where I live.
Manhattan people are totally getting this reference. Everyone else is like, what the hell are they talking
They're
about?
They're going to go into an eye doctor's and be like, I heard you guys sell booze.
Now, there is a great business model.
No, the eye doctors do not sell booze.
Yep, sunglasses, frames, eye exams.
But I drive to the other
liquor.
side of town for the Fridge.
The Fridge is fantastic, and our segment sponsor is Tanner's. They've been with us a long time, too. But Kansas State is getting ready to go to the NCAA tournament. Well, they're going to stop first in the Big 12 tournament, but there's a lot of postseason basketball coming up for the Wildcats, and if you are in the area, have that community moment, that sense of team, and stop by Tanner's and watch the NCAA tournament and Big 12 tournament right there with our friends Jeremy and Charlie and everyone else that runs the Tanner's establishment here in Manhattan. It's operated by K-Staters, partially owned by K-Staters, and it is just a wonderful place to watch sports. Best sports bar outside of Vegas I've ever been in.
We were at Tanner's last weekend.
Yeah, we were. It went well. Let's put it that way. Ross Uglin was in town, the new writer. He came in for basketball. K-State lost. Thanks, Ross.
All right. Here's the thing. Ross turned on the K-State West Virginia game in Manhattan when K-State was down at halftime.
Yeah.
They came back. They won 9 straight. Ross comes to town in hopes of continuing that mojo, and they lost.
We have banished him back to North Dakota.
Canada.
Welcome to Canada. And he can just stay there if this is the kind of behavior we get out of him.
The kind of behavior we get out of him.
Hanging home L's on the Cats. And then Iowa State turns around and loses at home. Baylor was out of its mind last night. Did you watch that?
Neat. That was awesome.
Baylor was scary good. And now, nobody's been talking about Baylor, but they're tied with Iowa State in the standings all of a sudden. That's incredible. It's been a 4-team race. Now Iowa State is 2 games behind K-State, and so is Baylor. And, of course, Tech and KU are 1 game behind, and they're going to sort something out Saturday in Lubbock. I'm fired up.
Yeah, I was trying to convince people. I was like, you want Baylor to win, guys. You don't have another chance to play Iowa State.
Absolutely, because now you've got a really tangible path to the Big 12 title, outright Big 12 title. If you lose in Lawrence, that's fine. Yeah, as long as 3 things happen. Kansas State wins the rest of the games, which apparently Baylor's going to be a tough out when they come to Manhattan. Tech wins Saturday against Kansas in Lubbock. Home team wins. And Iowa State beats Tech to close the season in Iowa State in Ames, so home team wins. So if the home teams hold court, K-State's going to win the Big 12 title as long as they only have 1 loss.
What a time to be alive. What a time to be alive.
Well, let's not take anything for granted. We could drop dead, in a week.
K-State could lose to Oklahoma State. Let's not take that for granted.
Yeah, this team makes me nervous, guys.
We'll get to it in the second half for sure, but all the signs are pointing to, hey, I think they're going to win the Big 12, which is why I'm very nervous that they won't win the Big 12. It's one of those situations where you're like, everything is so perfect that it's not going to happen.
They just have to take care of business, and they seem to be hitting a wall. We'll get to all this. I'm sure we got some great questions from Wabash Station. Again, we're sponsored by The Fridge, and this segment is sponsored by Tanner's. And here we go with your questions from Wabash Station. Here's Mr. Zach Carlson.
From Taco Cat 3000, given all the circumstances going in and the final result, were you encouraged or discouraged by Monday night's game?
I'll say this. I was highly discouraged by a lot of it. I thought you should have come into Morgantown and throttled a very inferior team, especially with so much on the line. But I was more encouraged by how they came back than I was discouraged by how poorly they played. Because they didn't just slowly come back and West Virginia missed some shots. They were forcing turnovers. They were knocking down shots. I was impressed with the rally more than I was disappointed in the way it started. And I think that says a lot because that start to that game was pretty ugly.
So, encouraged or discouraged? I was just couraged. I was right in the middle. They have to come out with more fire. They can't do this. They just can't. They're not good enough to do this. That's what bothers me. If you line the teams up in the Big 12, the main contenders, you can make an argument that K-State has the least amount of talent overall, top to bottom. Now they have probably the best upper crust of seniors, and that experience certainly is an intangible that you just can't measure, but is wildly valuable. But they just messed around in the first half. They came back in the second half. Things were nip and tuck, and then they made a few tweaks and got on a run. Their energy went up, but they started doubling down on the big man. Doubling, tripling, quadrupling. Bruce Weber would come into the game and cover him a little bit. Culver was just a man and a half, and they couldn't stop him. They couldn't do anything about him. But they were trying to take him on with single guys, and honestly, I think a freshman, just really blatantly exposed how bad K-State's post play can be.
We're gonna.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
Well, we're gonna see Culver. We're gonna see Culver a lot over the next 3 years.
No, we're not.
You think he's going to
Oh,
pros?
except that body. If that game develops next year, he'll be gone after 2.
Let's cross our fingers.
He is something else. I didn't know they made him that way. I've been covering K-State basketball a long time.
I loved Bruce's comment in the post game. He was like, he said that they were talking about who was going to be all freshman team or whatever, and they said Culver will be on there, and he said Culver at Texas Tech's not a senior or not a freshman, and he said no, Culver at West Virginia, and he says well, he's not a freshman, and they were like, yeah, he is. I think that shows just how much of a freak he is.
From Jim Cat, I know it's not good to call out specific players. However, is there any reason for James Love and Nigel Shadd to return next year?
In their eyes, it'd be great to return.
James Love offers something. Just having that big body, he's just got to get better, guys. His footwork's bad. He's not athletic at all. He runs like your grandmother with a bad back.
That's the best analogy.
But there's kind of
he's
something.
He's 6'11", and
yeah.
he looks like he's 7 when he's on the floor.
I know they got to break some habits. James, you got to play upright, man. There's times to get low on defense, but you're 6'11". That's why you're in the game.
That's why you're on scholarship.
That's exactly what I was going to say. That's why you have a scholarship. If you were 6'7", hello NAIA. So, but I think Shadd's just proven to be,
he's a flop,
a misfire. And you know what? When you play Nigel Shadd ahead of Austin Trice, I think you're admitting that maybe you missed on Austin Trice too.
Well, next question is, from Purple Powerhouse, at this point, would anyone be surprised to see Austin Trice transfer out after this season? He can't be happy with his playing time, and he might be better off at a mid-major.
I don't get it. Before we talk about Austin Trice transferring, I don't get it. And I know we've said this a bunch on the podcast, but it's not like he took a step back, first off. This was the type of player he was at Wabash Valley Community College. And if you were unaware, if he was dominating in JUCO like he was, and you were unable to recognize that, hey, the transition from JUCO to Division I is gonna be a little tough. How you didn't pick up on that at all? You didn't have that hunch or that reserve at all about him that he might struggle to transition? It puzzles me because they put so much into him. We talked about Bruce being in Chicago the night before an 11 a.m. tip against TCU in the Big 12 tournament. That's how much they wanted him. And now they don't even put him on the floor, but they'll put Nigel Shadd out there, which I disagree with totally. I think that they're not even close to the same. I would put Austin Trice out there way before, and he put the best big minutes on the floor on Monday.
He did. I'd love to know what's going on in practice, that he has drifted now to that role. I find it offensive to my basketball senses that he's behind some of these guys, because he goes out there and really works hard. Maybe he doesn't get the defensive rotations or doesn't get offensive stuff, but look, the other guys stink at offense. I don't see great defense from the other guys. Levi Stockard might understand defensive rotations, but he doesn't understand it without fouling. I can't see a clear differential between all the guys on the floor unless there's something going on in practice. Bad attitude, which he doesn't outwardly seem that way. Just lazy, he doesn't outwardly seem that way.
Maybe he doesn't take it serious. I mean, we kind of know. I don't know.
But this gets back to what you just said. This is the dude you recruited. You went and saw him play a number of times. You could easily identify, hell, any of us could have identified, he can't shoot free throws. He's not an offensive threat. He kind of runs around at times looking a little bit lost. Maybe they had it so simple for him at Wabash Valley. He didn't show these things, but I'm telling you, you completely misevaluated this guy. And if there's a problem in practice, surely someone at the school, a coach, an assistant coach, someone else in the vetting process said, his practice habits need to really improve. This is the guy you recruited. He didn't get worse. And again, they cannot properly evaluate and recruit big men. over and over. Dean Wade was a gift from the basketball heavens because he came from your own backyard, and everyone could see he had a huge upside. And Mikal Maween was a transfer because he flopped somewhere else and cruised in here, and he's been okay. Okay. The weak link in your starting lineup. But here we are.
From I Like Pickles Cat, who was the last K-State big man who progressed well throughout their career?
The first one, DJ Johnson.
Yeah. Oh, DJ Johnson. It's amazing.
They smacked it out of the park with DJ Johnson when
considering he was a 2-star, sitting out there.
May?
Yeah, sitting out there with no options. And it wasn't just that DJ was able to develop. They got a kid that wanted to develop, that worked his ass off, did everything he needed to do to become the DJ Johnson we saw as a junior and senior. And it wasn't just because he could score and rebound. He played hard and he worked hard on and off the court. You got to get back to identifying those kids. You got to go find the Barry Brown big man, which is essentially what he was. An under-recruited guy who had an upside and was willing to bust his tail to get there. And also, you might want to throw in Curtis Kelly, because when he arrived as a transfer for Kansas State, he was okay. But by the end of the game, by the end of his senior season, he was something else as a post player.
Yeah, I guess I was keeping it more to the Bruce Weber era.
And he's really I consider Dean more of a perimeter player.
Yeah.
He's a 4, stretch 4, a 3 maybe in the NBA if he can guard that spot. I don't know. But he's not. If you talk about post players, which Dean really, you can slide him in there for a few minutes, but he's really not capable of covering posts. DJ Johnson is the only one they have recruited out of high school or recruited directly out of junior college that has been worth a damn.
Stephen Hurt was a flop. Brandon Bolden probably might have been something. Let's say might have been something.
No.
Probably. You don't think so? No. I think he was better than Stephen Hurt.
I didn't mind Stephen Hurt. I'd take Stephen Hurt right now, big time, bigly. I would.
Interesting.
But that's how bad I think everyone behind Mac is.
So that was like really the only big recruits then. Isaiah Maurice, well, that was an attitude thing. He was going to hit it. Isaiah Maurice was going to get there, I think. Again. But they misevaluated his mindset, I guess, attitude, character, whatever. They haven't hit on anything in the bigs, and it's frustrating because we've seen them hit so well on guards. Barry Brown should not have been this. He wasn't recruited until late when he had already committed to K-State. Kamal Stokes was a commit to, I think Toledo, maybe? I forget. He had committed somewhere else before committing to K-State. They found guards in the rough. They found guys that have translated to phenomenal players, and some of the guys that are going to go down in school history as, I don't want to say one of the best, but some of the best to ever play. You found an NBA talent in Wesley Iwundu, but you can't find anybody that's over 6'8" tall to play competent basketball.
Well, Marcus Foster was a steal that went off the rails. But I think you can look through the history of K-State recruiting, and it really, the first factor that comes into play when, aside from just talent, I mean, Austin Butke had a great attitude, but he was what he was. He was
Austin Butke.
When you look at a similar talent pool, you can't take a risk on attitude. All the kids we talk about that have been a success in Bruce Weber's program are good kids, committed to all the things you want a student athlete to be committed to. And the other ones just go off the rails. And I think part of it is Bruce isn't someone that can reform those guys. I'm sorry. He's not a Bob Huggins or a Frank Martin. They're just different style of coaches. And you can take a kid like Dean Wade, and I don't think he'd work for a Huggins or a Martin. I think that would derail him, and Bruce can't get the kids back on track that need it. So that all that means you got to recruit to the kids that can flourish in your system. I don't think Bruce and his staff have done that.
From Mountain Joe, who is our big man coach and recruiter, and does he need to move on as well?
Well, Brad Korn's the big man coach. mainly, but they all recruit big men. They recruit on territories and regions, relationships more than positions, which is smart, obviously. So they don't really have that, but I don't think it's so much that Brad can't develop big men. I mean, I think he has struggles. Maybe he's probably not as good as, I guess I wasn't as familiar with the responsibilities of the last staff. Was Brooks coaching the big men before?
I assume.
I think. But I think it just like what we just hit on there. It goes back to the recruiting. I mean, it doesn't matter how good of a talent developer you are if you get somebody in your system like a Dante Williams who just never had it, or a Nigel Shadd who's just a complete miss on recruiting. I mean, I think it more stems back to that, because I think that Brad Korn is a good basketball coach, but you can't give him nothing and expect him to make it, a marble sculpture out of it.
Recruiting big men's hard. It really is. It's almost like recruiting offensive linemen out of high school, because those guys are going against smaller players and can dominate them, and it turns out they're really not that good. Hello, Chris Bogus. And the big men thing at college is kind of the same way. That's the value of AAU hoops. You get to see big men play against other big men, other talent. Look, Kansas has a 5-star big man right now who is struggling as a freshman. Coaching them just isn't, an easy thing. They have to develop. But you also, as a coach, and you can't raise the dead. And I think it's just recruiting failures, not coaching failures, recruiting failures. And it has to stop. This program will die on the vine if they don't correct this problem. They have dead weight on the bench. They can't just dump them all right now and go get a bunch of more high school scrubs. They've got themselves in a position where they take too many chances. You can take a chance once every couple years and hope it pays off. They are sometimes taking multiple chances within a recruiting class just to fill it. This has to stop. You work very hard at recruiting, and I don't understand why the bench is so thin and the future is so threatened by the departure of only 3 seniors. I mean, you can have a senior class that can be 5-6 guys, and that's really diminishing of your program. They only have 3 seniors, and everything is in peril for the future because they have recruited so poorly. They don't have enough Big 12 quality players on this roster.
From I Like Pickles Cat, how worried are you about the depth of this team next year?
Intensely.
Very.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty telling that I guess I'm going to put good news in the class. Of the 4 freshmen that you signed for 2019, I think we're probably going to see 2, if not 3 of them on the floor regularly.
They have to be.
Yeah,
they're 2 starters for sure.
Yeah,
unless someone really develops over the summer. I just don't see Mike McGurl as a starter.
No, but he's going to have to be a 6th man.
Yeah, he's going to be the 6th man. He is. You got Mac, you got Cartier, you got X.
You fill in with Dejuan. You probably fill in with Montavious.
Yeah, I think those 2 will start. I think you don't have a 4, so that's probably Montavious. And you've got Cartier running the point. You needed 2, and that's probably Dejuan, who, by the way, on his highlights from the Chicago City title game, they called Dewan. So I'm very confused.
Bruce called him Dejuan.
I know. I know. Maybe they didn't know any better.
He also calls Kamal, so...
Yeah. They also
take it with a grain of salt.
also put Capegel in the pronunciation guide of Good News, and it's Pegale. Apparently, allegedly, Larry Brown.
Allegedly.
I'm just going to say this right now. I'm not bothering to learn that name.
You're making a prediction?
I'm not. I'm just not.
It's not going to be good depth. You're going to be looking at a guy in James Love who you go to at West Virginia when your big men get in some foul trouble, and you're going to say, James Love will probably play like 15 minutes a game. Gonna have to, probably.
What's terrifying is Levi Stockard has to get dramatically better. That's the one guy that might have some hope of having some. He rises up and hits a 10-footer once in a while. He does some things once in a while, but he's so awkward with his footwork. There's just so much to work on with him. But mostly when I watch him play, I just don't get a sense that he gives a damn.
Passion. He needs it.
Just, I'm out here. This is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to be here, and now I got to go do this. And I want a little more helter-skelter give me the damn ball off the rim.
Yep. From Purple Powerhouse, Dean Wade was the preseason Big 12 Player of the Year, but his production has fallen far short of those lofty expectations. What will it take to get Wade to be more assertive?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Just stop trying or stop hoping. I
don't know. Nothing. You can do nothing for Dean at this point to improve his situation. Dean has to improve his situation. He has to understand his skill set, his ability level is special, and not just go into hide mode. I missed a shot. I probably should just pass the ball for a while. He can't do that, man. He just can't do that. Mostly, though, Dean needs to get a lot tougher. And I don't mean playing through the foot injury. It just seems like when he gets really challenged or he runs into something, too often he backs down, you know. I look at the first half against Iowa State, and maybe he was playing fearful of his foot. Maybe it did hurt a little bit. Either play or don't play. Don't go out there and just say, well, I missed a shot and I'm just going to pass for the rest of the half. You can't have a guy of that caliber go 0 for 1 from the field and play the number of minutes he did. I don't hang that loss on Dean Wade being injured. I hang that loss on Dean Wade not being Dean Wade when he was on the court. Because if he had been, they would have been in the game better.
He is what he is at this point.
And NBA scouts are noticing.
Yeah. I've gotten some texts, and it's not great.
It's not great. And, you know, if someone can hit the right button with him, he's going to have a really high upside. He's never going to be a star in the NBA, but he can be something. But he's sliding right now because he just looks soft. The most talented soft player I have ever seen. Just soft.
Last question of the first half from AZCat05. Since Bruce said Wade has been in a boot and not practicing between games, does this explain his lack of aggressiveness?
No. I mean, that was before.
Look, Bruce said that he was sore after the Iowa State loss. It's not as if he came back from his injury and was magically 100% healthy, was never sore. He never had any foot pain. He's had this foot pain ever since the initial injury. It's been bothering him all year, but it didn't stop him from scoring, 20 points against whoever. I don't have his stats, but he's had double digits in every single game between at Iowa State and home against Iowa State. He had 2 at Iowa State. He had 9 at home against Iowa State. Everything in between was double digits. And I guarantee you he was having foot pain then. So, no, I'm not willing to accept that the foot pain was a cause of his lack of aggression against Iowa State. Maybe it flared up a little bit more, and that's fair to say. But I totally do not buy into that excuse because he's proven that he can play on that foot pain at times.
Yeah, This gets back to the Bruce Weber Achilles heel, the excuses. The Iowa State game was the granddaddy of them all. Before the game, it didn't matter Iowa State had a week off. After the game, it mattered that Iowa State had a week off and could get ready. And it's not just that he goes in the post-game press conference and makes excuses that annoy fans. He always gives his players a crutch. It wasn't because you didn't play hard enough. It's because they had a week off. It wasn't because, you should have played harder. It was because you didn't practice. The answer there is it's always better to practice than not practice. You will be sharper if you practice than you don't practice. But there's a lot of cases in sports when a very valued player is unable to practice and they save him for games. And then it becomes incumbent upon him to make that not matter. Then I haven't practiced isn't an excuse because maybe you're not as great as everyone values if missing a few practices means you're not good anymore. If you have to miss practices for health reasons, don't show it. Be a man, play through it. And that's just where we are with Dean. And Bruce has to stop giving his team crutches upon which to lean. Stop with the excuses. Just stop with it. Toughen them up more. Now, you've got some great senior leaders who have, in my opinion, learned to adapt to your style and ignore you at times, which I think most seniors do.
Yeah.
No matter if it's Bill Snyder or Bill Self, there's a degree of, okay, I know what I'm doing here, Coach. get out of my ear hole. But I think with young players, Coach said in the press conference, we lost because we had to travel to Hawaii. Just those things just slowly deteriorate the toughness. The message is, who cares, man? Every day. That's not an excuse. Go get it done. Demand excellence. And Bruce has done wonders right now with this group and this team, and they honestly have a chance to replicate another Elite Eight season. They haven't, but they're going to have to find that inner strength that they found last year and get it done in the postseason. And enough of the excuses. You're hurt? Okay. Play or don't play. There's no middle ground there. Play or don't play. And we're not playing around. This is the Powercat Podcast, sponsored by Fridge Wholesale Liquor. That is segment 1. The first half of the podcast is in the rearview mirror. And right after this break and message from the fridge, we will be back with more K-State Sports Talk.
The Powercat Podcast continues shortly.
I'm trying to get a group text in on what everybody wants on the liquor store run, but my phone keeps autocorrecting liquor store to the fridge.
A fridge or the fridge?
The fridge. It just did it again.
Well, the fridge is more than just a liquor store. The fridge has over 3,000 wines in stock, the area's largest selection of spirits and craft beers. Plus, they're back-to-back winners of Beverage Dynamics Retailer of the Year.
Oh, I get it. Wow, smartphone.
Autocorrect your next liquor store visit to the Fridge Wholesale Liquor, 1150 Westport in Manhattan. Online at fridgeliquor.com.
For more than 20 years, there's only been one reliable source for exclusive and unmatched premium K-State sports news content. It's GoPowercat.com. The tradition continues as Tim Fitzgerald, D. Scott Fritchen, and the other Go Powercat sports experts continue their relentless coverage of K-State sports. So make sure you're subscribing to the one and only Go Powercat. Hey, K-State fans, it's time to come home to GoPowercat.com. We now return to the Powercat Podcast.
Welcome back to the Powercat Podcast from our brand new Absolute Purple studios. That sounds cool, man. I'm telling you.
I think you gotta preface it or something. We're not sponsored by Absolute.
They're not paying us any money.
Well, it's just for today.
Okay.
Just Toby paid us with sweat.
I mean, I was gonna say I'm okay with like naming it after Toby, but I felt like you needed to preface it and not just say we're the Absolute Purple.
Great.
Studios.
Now we've doxed Toby.
Nobody knows Toby.
Nobody knows Toby, but the secret to Toby is that's not his actual name.
Yeah. Wait, what?
Yeah. See?
Hold on.
As the story goes from Brother Toby, there were many people of his same first name in his pledge class. So in an Animal House moment, when they got their pledge pins, they gave them all new names, and nobody got to keep their original name. So there was no one of that name in his pledge class, and he was named Brother Toby.
That's actually funny.
I think
What's on
he's
his
got a
driver's
criminal
license?
history.
I want to know what's on his driver's license.
I'm not going to say that out loud because, believe me, people are probably looking for this dude. He is sketchy.
People don't even know who he is.
He's sketchy.
All they know is a man named Toby. Allegedly named Toby.
Allegedly named Toby. This is the Powercat Podcast, sponsored by The Fridge. Get into The Fridge at the corner of Claflin and Westport. Go. I didn't even look up their specials today. I'm so excited to be here. One of the cool things we do, we have segment sponsors, including the show sponsor, but all of our segment sponsors are customers of The Fridge. So if you go into Tanner's or this segment sponsor, the High-Low, you're going to get all your booze and everything you get there that you can get at The Fridge. So, like, if you fall in love with a mediocre beer that you can find playing Milwaukee Roulette at the High-Low, push the button, pay, what, 3 cents?
$3.
Oh,
3 cents?
I thought it was 3 cents. 3 cents would be a good deal. $3, get the magical beer, random beer that comes out. There you go.
The magical beer.
There you go. You got Milwaukee Roulette, beer comes out, and you go, ooh, I love this mediocre beer. You can find that beer at The Fridge, along with all the other booze. That's how it works.
Talk about the perfect mix. You can get pizza, or as we found out, mac and cheese pizza at the Hilo.
Yeah.
As well as liquor from the fridge.
When we're done here, are we going to go there again?
I was going to go get a salad at Chick-fil-A.
They're not a sponsor.
Well, Hilo doesn't serve. Well, yes, they do. Yes, they do. They have salads.
Do they really?
I think.
I'm disappointed.
Well, maybe I'll get it there.
We can go there. You know what? Their pepperoni bricks are very dietary friendly. They will fit right in on your diet.
Okay.
They're made with real baked butter and pepperoni and bread. All very healthy things. And we're working on a third sponsor because we lost a sponsor because, unfortunately, one of my favorite places in town went out of business. God bless, rest in peace, Wahoo. And we're going to hopefully next year be debuting a new sponsor. I'm not ready to say who it is, but I'm just going to say that the word Boardi is not in their name.
That's a good way to say it.
Of course, I can't really say it. Thank you. Thank you. They, too, are...
It's named after someone that cooks things.
Yes. Yeah.
In a kitchen.
And get their liquor from the fridge. And there's a reason why. They're the best. They just... The fridge delivers literally to all these places and does it in a timely manner, and they can't deliver it to you because we're in the state of Kansas. That's no fun. But they will definitely be very helpful when you go in. One segment down, another segment's on board here, and I'm told there's no football. Chris Kleiman's out there literally busting his ass to spread the message of K-State football. And Riley Gates and Zach Carlson get together and conspire to hold him back.
No.
To suppress his message of love and the Powercat and all of those purple things he is professing to people in Garden City, in Dallas, Wichita, and Kansas City over the last 2 days, and they have gotten together and said, we're not going to talk about that.
I did not.
There was one football question.
I have no
There was
part of this.
One question in the entire
So we're going to continue to talk about basketball. And I have to say this. I was a little bit grumpy in the first segment just because I see some real flaws in this program that are getting covered up by great senior leadership and some very special players, and most notably Barry Brown, who I would pick as Big 12 Player of the Year. Those aren't empty stats. You add in everything he does offensively and defensively, and I think he's the most valuable player in this conference. And I think he probably deserves an award, but he won't win it because there is probably a first-team All-American in here because he plays for the right program, and he's going to win the award.
Stop stepping on our questions, man.
I just like to talk, man. I'm in my new studio.
The whole first half, you let in all of the next questions.
So there we go. And here we go. We're sponsored here in this segment by the High-Low. Here's your questions from Wildcat Station. I'm going to shut up because I'm answering all the questions, apparently, because I don't get to read the questions.
You choose to not read the questions.
Well, that's true, too. Here's Zach.
From AZCat05, how would you explain what happened in the loss to Iowa State? Do we still lose even if Dean doesn't get hurt?
Yes. Dean played the whole first half and 10 minutes of the second half.
Yeah, and they were already in big trouble when Dean left the court. No, I just think it was one of those days. Iowa State's is just one of those teams. When Iowa State wants to shoot the ball like that, they can take down almost anyone in the country. They are a terrifying team in the NCAA tournament just because if they get on a roll, they're going to smoke the competition, or they're going to lose a 5-12 matchup.
Yeah, to a team exactly like that that'll light it up from outside.
Yeah, or they'll just start missing, and someone will outwork them like Baylor did last night in Ames, and they'll lose.
But here's the thing: it was a. Did the luck fall in Iowa State's favor that they were on in that game? Yes, I will give them that. They were fortunate that they were on. This was not as if this is a team that is very bad and just suddenly caught fire. This is a very good team. They have played multiple games where they've won by doing more than just shooting three-pointers. It's not a make or break, hey, you have to hit 14 of 24 threes or you will lose the game. I strongly disagree with the opinion that that they are a lucky team and they're a foe. They're going to be in the top 5 of the Big 12. I think they'll be a top 6 seed in the NCAA tournament. So they were better than K-State that day. Just accept it. They were better than K-State that day. That doesn't mean they're a better team than K-State, because they're not. But on that day, they were better. Earlier in the season when they went names, K-State was the better team. It's a pretty simple thing to me.
Yeah.
From JHam79, this team is shooting at a nearly 40% clip from 3 in league road games this year, and under 33% from 3-pointers in league home games. They're making 9 per game on the road and only 6 per game at home. What gives?
That is weird. That's a
weird.
great catch.
I have a theory.
Okay, go.
I think it has to do with the senior leadership, and then the fact that they know how crucial it is to go into a road game and get the guys focused, get the guys prepared. I like that word. Prepared and ready. Get them in that mindset for the road games. And when they're in that mindset, they're clicking. They're hitting their shots. They're relaxed, and they're letting the game come to them. When they're at home, they don't really need to get the guys up. I think they understand, kind of, hey, we're at home. That serves us better. We got the crowd and things like that. And maybe they don't come out as sharp. The entire team, that is, not the seniors. So I think when they go on the road, the seniors do a really good job of getting them focused. And when they're at home, everybody maybe is just kind of, I don't want to say on their own, but like just kind of doing their own thing. And they all know how to get ready. They all are in their groove, and they're not as locked in and ready when they're at home. That's my theory.
Well, I agree with it, and I think part of it is they feel invincible at home, so they can stand out there and hit 3-pointers. And on the road, they get in and grind. But you're right. It comes back, I think, to psychological reasons more than physical reasons. Focus. And that to stop and say this, that indicates they're going to be okay in the postseason. Once they're finished at home, if they get through this conference season, win the Big 12, whether it's outright, hopefully, or a shared title without Kansas, hopefully, then they'll be done. They'll go to Kemper. Holy cow. What just happened to my brain?
What? Go to Memorial Coliseum.
What? I just literally reverted back 20 years in my brain.
All right, folks. K-State and Oklahoma State in the Hearn Fieldhouse this weekend.
Wow. They'll go to the Sprint Center. As soon as that came out of my mouth, the rest of me went, what just happened there? Go to the Sprint Center, and hopefully Des Moines or Tulsa, and then back to the Sprint Center, and then off to Minneapolis to win a national title.
Woo. You got the... Did you say Indianapolis to win a national title?
Minneapolis.
I thought you said Indianapolis.
I kind of mispronounced it too.
Minneapolis.
I'm not on my A game apparently here, but at least I'm not in Kemper Arena.
From Wildcat Steve 18, what is it going to take for fans to start seeing Barry Brown is every bit as good as Jacob Pullen?
A game
I'm going to make some people mad.
A game at the Xavier, on the enormous stage. If Barry goes into Lawrence,
yes,
on Big Monday, and torches them, and does some of the things Barry can do and leads him to victory that cinches a Big 12 title, they'll put him on that stage. There was just something special about Jake. And you look at it, going into his senior season, there was no doubt, and there was other talented players on that team, who the dude was.
Yeah.
It was Jake. I mean, even his junior season when he had Clemente and Kelly, it was Jake because of the moxie, everything that went into what made him Jake. And going into the season, it was Dean's team. I didn't necessarily fully agree with it, but I understand. Everyone recognizes the raw talent or the upside of Dean Wade. I'll say this. I think Barry Brown, in my mind, has progressed farther than I ever imagined, and I'm ready to almost put him on that Jake Pullen level. When you start talking about stats that he compares to Jacob Pullen and Steve Henson, that is rarefied air. And I think if you pick the question, I did read some questions. There's a really good one in there about who to compare him to.
But I think that... Well, I agree with that absolutely, and I think he's going to end his career, and we're going to look at it and we're going to say he was about just as special as Jacob Pullen. He is going to go down in the memories like Jacob Poland. We're going to keep thinking back to Barry Brown. I'm probably going to make a case at the end of the year that he should be a Rafters guy. But I can't put it into words. There's something about it. Jake is Jake, like you kept saying there, and he just doesn't. I just don't feel that yet, and I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because I'm older now, and Jake was a thing when I was 15, 14, and I made it a little bit more special. Maybe that's it. I don't know. Well, it just doesn't feel like Jake. Yeah, but special, he is playing special.
The Fear of the Beard T-shirts. I mean, there was a connection there to Jake for whatever the reason. But you did. That was my question to you. Does he go into the Rafters, Barry?
Yeah.
Dean?
No.
And then not come out either.
Not come out, no. Look, this is not a question, but I'm going to dive into it a little bit. Barry Brown deserves to be in the Rafters because he's a top 5 scorer of all time. He's number 1 in steals. He's going to push for Big 12 Player of the Year, which I think is special. And in a moment when this team, in its peak season under a 7-year coach, was going to flounder, was going to struggle and be a complete disappointment, Barry Brown put the team on his back and willed him to 3 straight victories that sparked him. That makes him special to me this year. Everybody's argument that I always see on Twitter is that he hasn't been a first-team All-Big 12 player. He's only been second team. I don't think that should matter. I think it should matter what you do to your program,
right,
what you matter, and also with adding stats and awards in there. And I think that you can make a case on stats for Dean Wade. You can make a case on stats, goodness,
go Kemper,
for Kamal Stokes. But they don't have it. Dean Wade, to me, is always going to be the player that we thought could do some really special things, and he did some special things, but he was never consistent enough with it. Kamal Stokes was injury-plagued throughout his career, so we never really got to see him fully, although he's going to go down as one of the best three-point shooters ever. But those two just don't have the same feeling as Barry Brown to me, because I feel like Barry Brown is going to be the guy like Jacob Poland that comes back to Bramlage for Legends Day or whatever it is and just gets a roar louder than anything in a game.
Well, if your argument is he needs to be first team, he'll solve that here in a couple of weeks.
Right.
Yeah.
And he shouldn't have to do it multiple times to be a Raptors guy. And if that's the case, I think we need to evaluate KU's jerseys in the Raptors a little bit.
From Canelio or Neelio, as we learned last week.
I think he lost that right if he didn't stop us for 18 months.
Okay. I always hear Barry being compared to Jake, but Fitz, do you see any comparisons of Barry to possibly Mike Evans, Lonnie Henson, maybe even Anthony Bean?
He's better than Anthony Bean, bless his heart. Anthony was good in the moment in which he lived. Played. And he's not dead. His basketball career lived. It's hard for me to refresh my memories. I was just young enough. I watched Evans and Williams play the Purple Pop Guns, but for me to fully define their games, and Kruger was a hair before me, I can't do that. But I will say this. When I was watching him play against Iowa State, and then the way he was hitting pull-up jumpers at West Virginia that were unbelievable, he is an old-school dude, man. He's got this, if you want to say Earl Monroe type thing about him, an old NBA guy before the three-point line, that he's going to stop and pop. He's going to put the ball on the floor and rise up from 17 feet, from 12 feet, from 22 feet, whatever it is. He's not living by the three-point line. He's living by the open shot. And I keep hearing the damn announcers talk about analytics. He's driving the analytics guys crazy because he'll shoot with a foot on the line. The worst thing you do as a shooter is you worry about where you are. You shoot the damn ball, and if your foot's on the line, if you go check your foot, you're going to miss. Almost all the time you're going to miss if you're worried about anything other than proper foot positioning, not where your feet are on the floor. The things he's doing right now, pulling up and hitting jumpers, is absolutely incredible. It's a forgotten art for the most part in basketball because of the three-point line, and it reminds me of an earlier time, and I can't necessarily have the basketball knowledge as I sit here as a 54-year-old and pin it to any one player, but I can tell you this, he is pretty unique in his time in which he's playing.
From MBCat, if K-State finishes first in the Big 12, should Barry Brown be the Big 12 Player of the Year? And if not Barry, who?
I asked that exact question I was asked on the radio on Tuesday morning, and I framed it like this. If K-State wins the Big 12, Barry Brown is absolutely the Big 12 Player of the Year. There's not a question about it, and it's a farce if he doesn't win it.
It will be a farce.
Because
he's not going to be it.
If they win,
he's not going to be it.
Here's the thing. If they win the conference,
I agree.
He is undoubtedly the reason that they did it. He ended the streak, maybe. There's no question in my mind that he should be the Big 12 Player of the Year if they win it. If they lose it, or if they don't win or they share it with KU, I still think he could have a case. But the Dedrick Lawson winning the Big 12 Player of the Year is not as absurd to me as when Markeith or Marcus, I forget which one, won it over Jacob Pullen simply for winning the Big 12 that year.
But that's my point, is the KU guy will always have the benefit of the doubt. I think Lawson has won this award no matter what happens. And I know that Scott Drew at Baylor's done a marvelous job with a season in which everything's fallen apart, and here they are in the upper half of the conference. But if Kansas State can win the conference, particularly outright and end the streak, there's no doubt in my mind that Barry Brown's the Player of the Year and Bruce Weber's the Coach of the Year. End of story. End of story. You don't end that streak and not reward the people who did it.
That's interesting to me.
That's absurd to me that if Bruce Weber's team, if everything falls in place as it should at this point, including a loss in Lawrence by Kansas State, winning the rest, Tech winning against KU in Lubbock, Iowa State winning against Tech in Ames, K-State wins this conference outright, and there's absolutely no argument you can present to me that says that Barry Brown and Bruce Weber aren't the top player and coach in this conference, because the streak, one of the most notable things in all of college basketball, would have ended because primarily of those two people.
It's funny that you say that, because that's your mindset on Dedrick Lawson winning Big 12 Player of the Year is my exact mindset on Bill Self winning the Coach of the Year, in that the media, not we the media, but we the media have painted this picture of, oh, KU basketball, they've undergone such struggle this year. They've had adversity strike them. And look at Bill Self out here just coaching the Jayhawks up to the top again. And that's why I think he's going to win Coach of the Year. I think Bruce Weber or Scott Drew should be the choice. I would be okay with either one of them winning it, unless Baylor falls apart here down the stretch, then absolutely Bruce Weber. But I think it's going to be Bill Self because, oh man, the NCAA just did him wrong not allowing him to play Silvio De Sousa.
I don't think the media is going to fall for that, but I do see some media members buying into the argument he's overcome stuff. He hasn't overcome anything compared to Baylor. And like Bob Huggins so correctly said, he lost a few players. Well, he's bringing in a McDonald's All-American off the bench. Woe is Bill Self. How tough is it when you have a kid redshirting that you were going to redshirt, who probably should be a one and done. And I'm going to say this. The reason he was redshirting, because he knew he was a one and done. Thought he could get by this season without using him, but wanted him next year when Dedrick Lawson was gone. And now I think he'll be back, but
I literally saw someone make a case that, like, Bill Self has undergone some struggles because Quentin Grimes hasn't panned out. Oh, God forbid a 5-star top 10 player just didn't pan out. That is the worst.
That's just idiotic. I think Bill Self has in some ways done a good job. In other ways, I think he's done a horrible job. And here's why he did. I believe he actually did a real disservice to his team. He had an actual an incredibly toxic person in his locker room. And it took him 2/3 of the season to kick him off the team. And now they're playing better basketball. Well, Gerald Vick is a bad dude. He's a guy you don't want on your team. You don't want in your locker room. You don't want around your players. And for the most part, Bill Self has made good decisions or been able to reform those players. There was no saving Vic, and yet he let him stay because he thought he was so low on talent compared to what he normally is. He needed that scoring ability, and without him, they probably would have lost a few games earlier in the year, but so be it. They probably would have won more games down the stretch because he stunted the growth of other guys. Like, I think KU is a great program, but if this streak ends, the people that end this streak should be the ones who are awarded in the postseason if they're among the top players. And I think Barry Brown is making a strong argument that he's the best all-around player. You can name Lawson a first-team All-American if you want. That does not mean he's the player of the year in the conference. I don't think he probably should be an All-American first team, but, hey, if that's what people think of Lawson, he's an incredible talent. I would take him if I was an NBA GM, but this isn't about NBA games and NBA talent. This is about college basketball. And if Bruce Weber outright wins this conference and ends a streak, I love what Scott Drew's done. Every vote should go to Bruce Weber.
From AZ Cat 05, what has to happen for K-State to win at Allen Fieldhouse?
Just play. This is when I watched them play here in Manhattan. It was the first time in a very long time, and this includes the great years of Pullen. When they ended the streak, and Beasley, and I can look at them and say, you know what, K-State is the better team. I just feel like they have enough problems on their team and the senior leadership and those three guys, if they want to show up and play and, just go out on the court with huge sacks and say, we're going to finish what we haven't finished here the last 2 years. Crowd be damned. KU be damned. The officials be damned. We're going to win this game. They will win that game unless KU just lights it up.
Let me get a little bit more my theory here. You got to avoid the infamous 2 fouls in the before the under 16 and then the 12-0 run and before the under 12. That's what happens every year. Now, I know the last 2 years it's kind of been K-State doing that, which is really weird. But you got to avoid it. McCall Maween can't be in foul trouble in the first 5 minutes of the game. Dean Wade can't pick up 2 in the first 5 minutes of the game. You got to play your aggressive defense, but also not that aggressive, because you're not going to get away with. They will call every hand touch, every slight hip check. It's probably going to be freaking Gary Pollard or someone like that. Jerry, excuse me.
Who's turned into just a dreadful official. Just dreadful.
You want to drop your stat that I called for you to drop on the boards last night and you didn't?
Sorry, I didn't see it.
Oh, okay.
The John Higgins?
Yeah, the John Higgins stat.
I don't know. I don't need to look it up over the last 3 years, because whatever the site I used doesn't exist anymore that keeps track of all the refs. But at least 3 years ago, K-State had only lost 3 games where John Higgins was an official. One was the Texas Southern game that they gave up 4 points in 2 seconds at the end. And then 2 were 2 West Virginia games that they were blown out. The officiating didn't matter. K-State was 12-3 or something ridiculous. I don't know. It's probably gone down since then. But John Higgins is a favorable official for K-State.
Ever since John Higgins got death threats from Kentucky fans, he's been different. He's a better referee since that happened. So,
I would say he was a good official before then. He had his troubles.
My problem with Higgins isn't that he favors anyone. I don't even think he gets caught up in the moment. Sermons does.
Yes.
Jerry Pollard certainly does. Kelly Self does.
I haven't seen Kelly Self that much.
Yeah, because he sucks. And Paul Jansen is just.
I hate Paul Jansen.
He's just horrible. My problem with Higgins is he gets caught up in him making the big call.
Which I was saying, I think he's gone away from that a little bit.
Right, and that's I kind of agree with you. And it's not about he favors someone or doesn't favor someone. He just, boom, this is the big call, charge, and it wasn't a charge, but it was dramatic as hell.
Yeah,
and because look, it manifests itself in how often a guy wants to go to the monitor. I'm going to go to the monitor. I'm on TV. And you can just see it at work with him and Doug Sermons.
Loves the monitor.
Loves the monitor.
I feel like that's gone down with Higgins over the last couple years, at least in K-State.
I agree. No, I agree. I think people started to talk about it so much
that he stopped.
They noticed that I am going to the monitor a lot. And maybe the Big 12 said, hey, John, you're going to the monitor 30% more than anyone else in the league. Maybe that happened. They do evaluate these guys, believe it or not. Not much changes with some of them. But, yeah, I agree. I think he has been good for K-State at times.
Keep an eye on it's shameless plug. Read my game rewind on Saturday, because it's going to have the officials in there. Mm-hmm. Keep an eye on who officiates KU and Texas Tech, because they can't officiate the next game, right? Is that the rule?
I don't think there's a rule, but if you look at it, they usually don't.
Okay.
They usually schedule it to where it's,
there's a good chance
there's a few
that those
games
6
between.
officials won't be in Lawrence on Monday. So I think if you can avoid Pollard, if you can avoid Sermons, you're going to be okay.
As in, avoid them by have them officiate one of the games on
I'd
Saturday.
rather have Pollard or Sermons officiate Oklahoma State. Okay,
Right.
I'm okay with that.
Well, so basically, we're hoping that they send Pollard, Sermons, and Jansen to Lubbock on.
That'd be great.
And just
And KU
total
loses by
chaos in that game.
Be fantastic.
And then get Higgins, Kissinger, and I don't know.
Oh, what's his name?
Kissinger's a good official.
Yeah, he's not bad. What's the really skinny dude's name?
I'd have to go
He's
look.
tiny. I'll come up with it. He's a fairly new official in the last 2 years, and I think he's really good.
I just want the Bruce Weber twin to officiate the KU
That
game.
creeps me out.
It's so funny.
Hey, bro.
That was a great picture I got of them that day.
From Purple Powerhouse, which of these does the GPC staff think is the most likely in regards to the regular season Big 12 title? 4 options. A. K-State finishes in sole possession of the league title. B. K-State shares the Big 12 title, probably with KU or Iowa State. I don't know why you didn't include Tech, but I'd include Tech there too. C. K-State pees down its leg and ends up somewhere between 2nd and 4th place. D. KU wins at least a share of the league title.
Well, wouldn't B and D be the same thing, kind of?
No.
What was B?
Is D saying that K-State
K-State doesn't?
Okay.
Or no, K-State wins. KU at least wins a share.
There's
So
some overlap
B and D
here.
are different. B and D are different.
But C then is they kind of overlap.
Well, shout out to.
I think K-State will share the title.
I do too.
But like I said, they've got a pathway to winning the title. That just isn't in. Well, it is in their complete control. They win out. They win in Lawrence. They win out. They win the title outright. Period. End of story. So they do have control of this. I guess I'm writing off that KU game as a reflexive habit that is covering K-State for so long that they're going to lose in Allen Fieldhouse.
Shout out to Powercat Ryan on the boards for posting the standings and the remaining schedule for each of the teams in the standings here, so I can have a good look at this.
Thanks, Ryan. Thank you.
So I'm looking at K-State. I think they're going to go 4-1 down the stretch. I think they'll lose to KU. So that puts K-State at 14-4. I think KU is going to go 4-1.
13-5.
And that puts them at 13-5. I think so. That makes you look at Texas Tech, and frankly, there's no reason that Texas Tech shouldn't go 5-0 down the stretch, which would put them at 14-4.
No reason. They got to go to Iowa State.
I like Texas Tech. Iowa State's lost back-to-back home games.
You just don't. I mean, yeah.
I would pick.
Everyone talks about Hilton Magic. There was no magic last night.
There was no magic last night. Great Bruce After Dark quote. It's crazy because if you'd have asked me without looking at the schedule, I would have said K-State shares it with KU. Is that even possible? Yeah, it's possible. Duh.
Yeah, if KU wins out and K-State loses in Lawrence,
But
that's it.
I'm going to go on the record. God, I hate this. I think it's going to be K-State and Tech. I think they're going to tie it. And I think KU will finish 3rd. I've decided it.
I think that Texas Tech's going to win on Saturday, and I think K-State's going to win next week. And it'll be over in 2 games.
And then it'll be an outright title.
It'll be outright.
Well, here's the thing. K-State still has 3 games down the stretch after that, 2 of which I'm not fully I'm more confident than I'm less confident. Baylor at home should be a win, but it's still going to be a tough game. TCU on the road, K-State could win by 15, and K-State could lose.
Well, TCU's a little shorthanded now, and if they get...
TCU's been shorthanded for long.
Yeah,
They almost beat KU.
They were shorthanded last year when K-State went down there and lost.
Yeah.
I agree with you. And Baylor certainly looks much improved. And the thing about Baylor is you can't get outworked by Baylor. And Iowa State got outworked, period. They just got outworked, and that's... And, to Iowa State's credit, they outworked K-State in many ways. They're not known as a good defensive team. They're not known as a good rebounding team, but they were in Bramlage Coliseum. K-State, the end of the day, K-State has to outwork its competition. Just don't overwhelm people with talent. They don't have waves of talent. They're fragile in the fact they don't have great depth. They're fragile in the fact that they got a couple seniors that are a little bit gimpy. But you can control how hard you play. Do that.
Just go 4-1 down the stretch, and you win a Big 12 championship. Can you do that? Can you go 4-1 to win a conference championship playing two of the worst teams in the conference. That shouldn't be that tough of a task.
I can't, but maybe they can.
Last question of the second half from I Like Pickles Cat. Fitz, this team refuses to let you be right about anything. How do you plan to leverage this for personal gain?
Kansas State cannot win a Big 12 championship, and Kansas State cannot win a national championship. There, maybe is that the double reverse jinx?
Do we have the budget to go to Minneapolis?
Oh, we will.
We'll find it.
It's not that bad a drive.
It's not
I'm joking.
It's not that bad a drive. Look, this is the dream scenario for Kansas State basketball and GoPowercat.com covering Kansas State basketball. Des Moines or Tulsa, Kansas City, Minneapolis. Not a single flight in there.
I'm telling you, we're going to Hartford, Connecticut.
God,
come on, Fitz. I need those miles.
You wouldn't? No.
We're going to Hartford or San Jose in the first round. I guarantee it.
No, you're wrong.
I hope I'm wrong.
I'm telling you right now, KU will be in Tulsa to sell the tickets because nobody else will be in the. I mean, Oklahoma might get in a bid, but they're not going to sell tickets.
How crazy, by the way, that Oklahoma is going to go to the NCAA tournament.
They shouldn't.
They shouldn't.
Absolutely shouldn't.
Their non-conference was so good.
I know, but if you're going to be 6-12 in the conference or whatever they're going to be.
Conference record doesn't weigh into it apparently all that much.
But the fact that you lost 6 of your or 12 of your last 18 probably should, whether it's conference or not. Of course, there was an SEC game in there.
Did they win that one?
I don't even know.
Yeah,
probably did.
They played Florida and they won.
Yeah.
No,
boost the resume.
No. They didn't play Florida. They played. Oh, they got Vandy. Yeah, they won. Yeah. They slaughtered Vanderbilt by 30.
Look, I think the Big 12 is the most competitive conference, but 8 teams? Oh, really?
Bruce would still probably want Oklahoma State and West Virginia in there too.
My theory is that the NCAA is going to look at Kansas State as a Big 12 champion, and they're going to say, well done, Kansas State. You had a great season. We know you want Des Moines. We know you want Tulsa in that first 2 rounds. But we're going to send you out to Hartford, Connecticut. We're going to send you to San Jose, California. And if you prove that you can win 2 games out there, then we're going to stick you in Kansas City, Missouri for the Sweet 16.
That's not how the pod system is established so that you get to play closer to home whenever possible. And the higher seeded you are, the more likely you are to get a pod close to home.
Well, I understand.
And there's 2 pods here, so they can even divide KU and K-State.
Yeah.
I think KU will get Tulsa to sell tickets, period. There's not enough Texas teams or Oklahoma teams or SEC teams to really sell out that arena. Des Moines is a little bit different. They're going to bleed some Big Ten teams in there, and Iowa State will be in there. But you can still put Iowa State in one bracket and Kansas State in the other bracket.
I think Tulsa's more likely.
For K-State?
Oh, yeah.
You can still do that, too, because they also like to do that. Oh, put KU and K-State together, because that way they're fans that share both. They'll cheer for each other. No, nobody does that. No.
Look, that 2010 game against KU Northern Iowa game was probably the most fun non-K-State game I've ever been to in my life.
Because all the K-State fans were cheering for them. Yeah.
It was so loud.
Maybe they do that. But either way, I think they'll be, unless they collapse, if they win the Big 12, and if they win the Big 12 and get shipped out, after all these years of Kansas getting whatever they wanted because they're Big 12 champions, it stinks. It stinks to high heaven. And if KU doesn't win the Big 12, and if they're like in third, they don't deserve to be in the Midwest region. They should play in a pod close to home, sell tickets, and then they can go to Anaheim or Louisville or wherever.
There was no reason for me to be in Sacramento that year, though.
Well, K-State wasn't
to go from Dayton to Sacramento.
But
that's a different argument.
That's a different argument. They weren't a high seed. They were a playing game. You don't get nobody cares about you if you're in a playing game. You get to go to Sacramento. That's the point.
I was just saying
from a logistics.
I've seen crazier things.
But that's my point. Yeah. They don't care about a 12 seed. They care about the 1 through 4 seeds. Yeah. That's why the pod system was set up, because too many of the upper seeds were being shipped out because they weren't close enough regions. Because they were going strictly on regions.
Will they be a 4 seed?
If they win the Big 12, they will be, because they'll have the record to boast that.
I agree. I think they should.
Well, then again, you don't know what the stupid net ratings are going to do.
Yeah.
They're getting better for K-State.
They're getting better overall, and that's what someone said early on. You got to focus through the entire season, and then they kind of lock in.
People freaking out.
They were pretty out of whack for a while.
Yeah, they were out of whack.
So were whatever that is, the RPI. They were trash.
Whatever doesn't benefit K-State is what is out of whack at the time. That's the way it goes.
Well, you know, K-State had some losses that really watered down their overall value. Some of the intangibles or tangibles, I guess it would be, some of the stats they use don't favor K-State. But at the end, if you win the most competitive conference in the country, you're a damn good basketball team, and I think that's how K-State should be respected at the end of the season. Now they got to go take care of business. If they sweep Kansas, if they go 5-0 down the stretch and win it just definitively, there's no doubt in my mind they're a top 4 seed. They should be in one of the local brackets and in Kansas City. No doubt in my mind, and if it's anything less than that, screw you, NCAA. You know, I'm getting feisty, guys. We better take a break. This is the Powercat Podcast, sponsored by Fridge Wholesale Liquor. That segment's brought to you by the High-Low. That was high there for low. That's what I'm doing. This is the theme. I'm Tim Fitzgerald. That's Riley Gates, and Zach Carlson is our MC, and we'll be back with the overtime right after this break.
The gang will return with more of the Powercat Podcast.
I'm trying to get a group text in on what everybody wants on the liquor store run, but my phone keeps autocorrecting liquor store to the fridge.
A fridge or the fridge?
The fridge. It just did it again.
Well, the Fridge is more than just a liquor store. The Fridge has over 3,000 wines in stock, the area's largest selection of spirits and craft beers. Plus, they're back-to-back winners of Beverage Dynamics Retailer of the Year.
Oh, I get it. Wow, smartphone.
Autocorrect your next liquor store visit to the Fridge Wholesale Liquor, 1150 Westport in Manhattan. Online at fridgeliquor.com.
For more than 20 years, there's only been one reliable source for exclusive and unmatched premium K-State sports news content. It's GoPowercat.com. The tradition continues as Tim Fitzgerald, D. Scott Fritchen, and the other Go PowerCat sports experts continue their relentless coverage of K-State sports. So make sure you're subscribing to the one and only Go PowerCat. Hey, K-State fans, it's time to come home to GoPowerCat.com. Back to Fitz on the Powercat Podcast, sponsored by Fridge Wholesale Liquor.
It's time to wrap up the Powercat Podcast with the overtime. If you're new, and we are always gaining new listeners, we have the first half, sports. Second half, sports. Third half, not the third half, it's overtime, because there's no third half. That doesn't work. That's not how halves work. It's only 2 halves. So we have the overtime. Extra stuff. Sometimes sports.
Stick to sports, man.
Sometimes tacos.
Stick to sports.
I'm not sticking to sports, man. If I want to talk about tacos, by God, I'll talk about tacos. Do we get any taco questions?
No, but you're making me want to go get some tacos.
Tacos sound pretty good. Hilo doesn't have tacos, do they?
No.
I mean, you could technically make a taco.
Like order pizza and fold it into a pizza taco?
Yeah.
I think, or you could just get a taco pizza somewhere. I bet they have a taco pizza.
I don't know.
You can probably ask for some ground beef.
Look, I'm
on
just
a
going to
pizza,
say it.
And then some cheese, and then lettuce.
If we were eating tacos, I probably would go to a non-sponsor place for tacos because our sponsors don't serve tacos.
Well, the great taco place in Manhattan does not get their liquor from the Fridge Wholesale Liquor.
Unfortunate.
They have been
Hashtag exposed.
They have been very loyal to their liquor store, which has done a good job of servicing their account, and I understand why they wouldn't change.
It's fair enough.
Weird.
I
It's
appreciate
the only flaw.
Where to get your liquor from a place that you can check out books, but you know.
Well, there
Whatever.
we go. There we go. It's all on the table. It's right there. This is the Powercat Podcast, sponsored by The Fridge, and the third segment is not sponsored by anyone currently.
From Canelio.
Wait, that was the weirdest transition of all time.
Here's Zach. He's eager to go.
From Canelio.
He might need to pee. I don't know.
He noticed a tweet this week about new helmets being delivered to Veneer. Is there any shot of them being some sort of alternate helmets with a new look? The answer is no.
Well, I better watch myself because I'll get people will be mad at me for
Call you a douchebag?
Yeah.
Alert?
Can we say that on a podcast?
Hey, look.
We say ass and damn.
I don't. There is a chance, but I don't think it's that yet. There is a chance. Chris Kleiman's told recruits are going to have some kind of helmet alteration.
It's not that, okay? I'm just going to say that.
Why are you so convinced it's not that?
Because they do this crap. This is not the first time that they've said new helmets or tweeted a picture of a box and was like, oh, look what the new shipment brought in today.
I'm aware of that, but that was almost like playing off the fact that Coach Snyder would not do anything new.
Number one, the swag team loves to screw with people. They get off.
They've always done it.
They get off on it. Number two, the tweet said new helmets are here. That's all it is. It is a physically new helmet. We know
what
that they've been...
What they tweeted was an accurate assessment of events. No need to speculate here.
So stop speculating on it. They've been incorporating vices for a while. Yeah. I'm sure they're bringing in new Zeniths every year. This was simply the silver helmet, the off-purple Powercat with the stripe down the middle.
Well, I bet you it didn't have any decals on it. It was a silver helmet with a silver face mask.
Okay.
Yeah, they apply the decals.
Yeah, man.
They just order.
It came from Zenith. It's probably a new model that they're just.
You just get a blank. Vices. You get a blank, whether it's silver or purple or white or pink.
Don't get excited.
Why does nobody have a pink helmet?
Oregon does.
Oh, they do.
Did they wear a pink helmet?
It's a white helmet with a pink O.
Okay.
Yeah, they're like, that's breast cancer, and I'm like, all right, there's a limit. Like,
how about prostate cancer? Why don't you do something that your players might get someday?
I'm sorry. I think that'd be weird too. I think there's a line where you draw charities and causes.
I'm with you. I mean, if pink works into your colors, I get it. I mean, I noticed the KU
it's jumped the shark.
I noticed KU women were wearing all pink uniforms. Well, that kind of fits your school, and your color's red. So
K-State did it too.
They wear pink.
They do it every year.
Yes,
they do it every year.
They've had a lavender in the women's side, haven't they?
They wore pink. No, they wore pink.
Yeah, see, that bothers me. But it bothers me less with women's basketball because breast cancer awareness is very tangible to women's basketball.
But at least everybody does it, the Play for K thing. I don't agree. Like,
right.
I don't think they should do it for the whole however long they do it.
Well, we're getting into one of my new things, and that'll be part of my nonprofit, but it's time we talk about other forms of cancer. We're all aware of breast cancer. They've done an incredible job of making us aware of breast cancer. But none of the basketball players, men do get breast cancer, but none of the men's basketball players have a high likelihood to get breast cancer. They need to be aware of stuff that will affect them. And if they're African American, greatly affect them. Anyhow, new helmets, I'm saying they are. I'm saying they're a brand new helmet, and they're purple.
Enjoy that heartbreak.
Okay.
That's why I got married.
Purple Powerhouse
I'm good at being wrong.
Asks, Gene Taylor said it could take a couple of years to get new uniforms. Thing is, I've seen other schools radically change their look from one year to the next, so why would the turnaround time for K-State be different? Well, the lead times on uniforms, especially design, it's a whole process. You sit down one day and you design it. You know, it doesn't take one day, but the day you sit down, I mean, that starts the process. I know Sporting KC, every year they release a new kit, either home or away. But I know that
that's not done in the off season. That's done in the off season the year prior.
The moment they release, so they just released their new home kit for the next 2 years. They'll start working on 2 years from now's new home kit this year.
Right.
Like they've already started designs for the next cycle.
There's not a quick turnaround when someone drops a new uniform. You're not expecting a new uniform, so when it drops, it's kind of out of the blue. Here at K-State, everybody's expecting it to come. So they're thinking it's going to be this quick process. Whereas in other settings and other places, they don't sit here and wait for the new uniforms to come out. And so they don't understand that behind the scenes, there's a 2-year process going on.
Look, I think they can do new pants fairly quickly. I mean, that's just.
I mean, if they wanted to get new uniforms, they could do it.
The quickest thing you can do, honestly, is a helmet because that's just decals over a blank. Here's your mask color. Particularly if you're picking an off-the-shelf color. Now, if it's a custom color, which K-State needs to adhere to. And again, I'm going to say this. Please change the color of the Powercat. I don't know why Coach Snyder loved that deep plum Powercat, but that's not a K-State color.
I like it.
I don't. I think it looks hideous. Use the K-State purple throughout the uniform. You have the ability. Our new studio here has 17 purples in it because we're buying off the shelf. And if you buy off the shelf, you get that. And if you buy off the shelf, you get shades of purple that eat light in different ways. It's kind of a printing term. They look purple to the eye and blue on TV or whatever. The purple's a really difficult color. But K-State now has found a color that works to the eye on TV, and they use it, and it looks great. Let's stick with that through everything uniform-wise. So maybe they can't do everything they want, but they could get a blank helmet, put new decals on it, and go. Just shirts, uniform tops, that's a whole design process of printing.
And I don't want them to screw it up. I want them to get it right.
Plus, it's Nike, and you got to train the 12-year-old Chinese children how to do it properly.
But another argument against the whole you can't, it takes so long to make a uniform. Nike doesn't know who the playoff teams are going to be. They don't make those jerseys with the diamond swoosh until the teams are set. There's.
Isn't that just a patch?
What do you mean?
The diamond swoosh is that?
That's a swoosh. Like that's
a jersey thing.
That's a jersey thing.
Oh, I thought it was a patch.
No, I mean it's a new jersey.
Damn.
Yeah. So I mean, yes, the designs are in that case the designs are already made. You can make a garment pretty quickly there.
They probably have some designs you can plug and play, but you don't want that. You want your thing, your font, your everything.
Right. But part of me thinks Gene's saying it's going to take 2 years. They could probably get something quicker. But him saying 2 years makes me think that there might be more redesigns along the line. Maybe secondary logos, different fonts.
I know do this right.
People have complained, and I agree with them, about how the baseball logo gets used on ESPN as their secondary graphic that kind of pops out. They need something else. You can't. I like that logo, but it doesn't work for outside of baseball. In my opinion.
I agree.
So I think that they're going to do this right. Marketing's going to take a whole approach to it. It'll be done right.
Hey, while we're talking about redesign, can I get the simple K at midcourt like the original one in Ahern?
No.
I love that.
Like KU's old court with the state of Kansas?
The state of Kansas and the K in it?
It's a white circle with a purple K on it.
No, hard freaking pass.
No, it's awesome.
Look,
I want the Powercats in the corner.
I want a basketball wearing K-State sunglasses. You remember that logo? I want that on the floor.
Do they have that on the floor?
I don't think it was ever on the floor, but it was a logo.
Well, I love Lon Kruger, but here's what I want my logo to be. A basketball with the word Cats across it.
Yeah.
And then he goes to Florida. I want a basketball with the word Gators across it. And he goes to Illinois. I want a basketball with the word Illini across it.
Here's what I'm going to tell you, Fitz.
Great coach, horrible designer.
And this is where I'm going to act like a millennial, that word that everybody loves to use. Hey, old man, get over it. That's not that cool of a court design. That sucks.
I'm not talking about that design. I'm talking about an updated version of that design.
No.
And this comes from the millennial who thinks the Tom and Jerry Wildcat carrying a pennant is cool.
That's the coolest K-State logo in the university.
Hey, old man, that's a wussy logo from a time gone by.
Look,
Do you want it to be Cahill again, too?
In 2019, there's no reason for your logo to be a damn letter, especially on ESPN when you're going to be on constantly trying to impress recruits and your court is a K.
When you're known as K-State?
No.
Hell yes.
No. Hard pass.
Yeah. Are people Googling K-State? No.
Actually, they're
not.
They're not. I was really surprised to learn that. But we're giving away some tips.
From Cliff Clavin, 754, if Chris Beard is worth half the ink written about him, does he lose to this KU team in Lubbock?
Chris Beard is worth every drop of ink written about him. That guy's a dog.
I think Chris Beard is why they'll win this game. I really do. I think they'll win it. But I don't know. Maybe KU's minus Vic has found themselves.
If KU wins in Lubbock, it's not going to be because of what Texas Tech didn't do. It's going to be because of what Bill Self did. Because that guy is special.
They're both great coaches.
Right. Did you see Chris Beard annihilate a walk-on?
Oh, yeah, for this shot.
Holy crap. I was torn on that.
No, I wasn't. That was clearly that Barry Brown's dunk kind of came in the course of the game. They probably weren't realizing the clock was in the final seconds, and he did it. And after the game, he spun it. But that was clearly game's over. But I'm still going to go dunk.
Right, but that wasn't a Barry Brown-esque player on the floor for Texas Tech. That was a walk-on.
Still got to know your role, man. Earn the chance to dunk in a game.
I was torn.
From Powercat Ryan, if you were in charge of marketing for K-State after the Wildcats win a Big 12 championship outright, what would you put on the westbound I-70 billboard that is directly across from KU's billboard in Topeka?
Oh, that's a tough one. That's tough.
I'd just buy a billboard outside of Lawrence. Just says, like, you guys lost. The streak is just Helvetica, white billboard, black font, Helvetica. Your streak is over, and then just a Powercat on the bottom.
Who was the
That's pretty good, actually.
Who was the commentator? Do you know for the 2008 game in Manhattan?
Brent Musburger.
Brent Musburger and who? Do you remember the
Bob Knight?
No. It wasn't Bob Knight. I know it wasn't.
I don't know.
No, it wouldn't. That game was on ESPN Plus, so that was like probably.
By the way, how? ESPN Plus. But anyways, whoever it is, I think you just got to get a billboard and you put the streak is dead, because that's what he yelled when the clock hit 0 and when they beat KU in Manhattan.
I don't think anybody'd get that.
But it's very factual, and you can just put dash whoever and put a picture of Barry Brown holding a Big 12 championship trophy. The streak is dead.
Or you just get
But I'm also torn because
a giant picture of the new K-State ring with the Powercat on it, and that's all it says.
But I also, I'm torn because I don't want to recognize the streak in my billboard. Like, I want to make it about K-State, not about the fact that KU did win 14 straight.
Right, I agree. That's why I just put the ring.
Do the ring.
Just put that's it, the ring, and then a little something at the bottom. Your marketing message.
Won the dang day.
Eh.
Might be overkill.
That's gonna get old very quickly too.
If we keep it for football, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
From Wildcat Engineer, should Gene Taylor and K-State look at improving Bramlage or Bill Snyder Family Stadium as a concert venue? Is there money to be made from being a concert destination point?
This is kind of an interest point of mine. I think right now the price point of concerts has exceeded this market. I thought what they did with that football season.
Train.
Yeah. They miscalculated on the acts. They should have gone all in on one thing or all in on the other. You couldn't split the baby in half and have Train with Zach Brown Band. That was just bizarre.
Such a trash lineup.
Zach Brown Band isn't, though. That's a big-time headliner, but then everyone else on that lineup was trash compared to what you needed. And then to have tickets over $100, the price point just missed. But maybe they can't afford those acts, and if you can't afford those acts, then so be it. I went to a cool Dierks Bentley concert when he was just starting out, and it was in Bramlage, and the stage faced the seatback section. So it didn't cut the arena in half. They just cut it to one side, and he played to that side. So it was like playing to a smaller venue. It was kind of weird because you didn't have any seating on the side. I think maybe a better way to do it is actually put it in the corner, so you do have, kind of curved seating. But I don't think they can afford an act to come into the full Bramlage Coliseum and sell enough tickets. I just don't. Not with the Sprint Center right up the road. I got it right. And Interest, which is a good concert venue down the road. You got two great venues 2 hours away. Those acts are going to stop there.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know pop music well enough, and I don't know who in the pop genre might stop here.
I mean, Ariana Grande is the only person I can think of right now, but she's so massive. She would cost millions of dollars.
Right.
It would
be anybody.
I just saw someone at
Yeah.
Sprint Center, and they had a big debut concert announcement. I had no idea who it was, and I kind of know music.
Wasn't Travis Scott at Sprint
Travis
Center?
Scott was there on Sunday.
Yeah. No, it was some
Called it
female.
St. Louis.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Good move. Maybe there's a genre that isn't in my wheelhouse, that...
Like Zach said, though, anybody that's worth a ticket is going to cost you millions. So you might sell it out, but are you going to be able to pay the performer?
Like Nick Jonas was the last person within the last 2 years.
Did that, so.
And Nick Jonas isn't. He's big. Yes, don't get me wrong. Is he is he top 40? Right now? No, he's not.
And Nick Jonas isn't the Jonas Brothers.
Right. He'll sell tickets, but he's not a. He's not a marquee.
Hey, look, how about someone like Post Malone? I mean, kind of newer guy, coming up fast.
I'd kill to go to a Post Malone concert.
A Post Malone concert would sell out Bramlage.
Absolutely.
Pretty quickly.
It'd be all students, too. And
No, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
But I don't know how much he would cost. I don't know what.
Then you get into the price point.
Like, now is when you got to do it. Like, you can't, because he's probably about to drop another album soon. Beer Bongs and Bentleys came out last April. Yeah, it's got to be coming soon, and he's going to hit it so his price will only go up.
So this is how I knew who Post Malone was, but I really hadn't listened to his music. They had an Elvis tribute, and I'm a big Elvis fan, on it was the 50-year anniversary of the 68 concert, so they filmed it in last year, and they just aired it. Blake Shelton hosted, a lot of country people on there. Post Malone was on it, singing Elvis, playing guitar, singing the blues and an Elvis rock, and I'm like, oh my God, this guy is talented. He's tattooed like a freak, but does he have eye tattoos?
Post Malone is the weirdest looking dude ever.
Yeah.
And like just knowing that like he came from like a rich part of Dallas.
Really?
Yeah. Like, I mean, basically his parents, I think, funded his music career to an extent. Like don't get me wrong, he's made it. Like he's good, but I think that he got a little bit of flack early on in his career where people were like, you were just handed this. Like, you didn't earn this.
Well, I'll tell you this. He was wildly talented.
He's incredible.
Yeah.
And I went and listened to his music, and I'm going, this isn't my genre. This is really good. This is really well-constructed music. This is good stuff. This is artistic, which I can't say about all versions of rap right now.
He's rap, but he's not rap at the same time, you know?
Well, that's what I like. He's kind of a fusion artist. You can hear it. But anyhow, something like that. But you have to have a savvy booker to know the market, to get those type of people. Is there a country act coming up right now that would sell out? I don't think so. And you end up recycling. We're bringing in Toby Keith again. No.
Jake Owen is a terrific show, but he's kind of old. Yeah, he's coming. You
know.
can't do anything country because everything is compared to Stampede.
You got to find someone. This is where you need to get away from Stampede. You got to find someone who plays into the young country sensibilities of the student body that they want to see at Stampede, while still having an older audience appreciate them, like Luke Combs.
Yes, Luke Combs. I would pay to go see Luke Combs. You need to go. Here's what you need to give UPC the budget of K-State.
But again, like uniforms, you get a window where you got to book these guys, and there's so much luck involved. Like the time that Pat Green had a #1 song and was playing Longhorns, because they had booked him a year in advance or 6 months in advance, and the song blew up and hit #1. And that's happened with small bar concerts in Manhattan with country a number of times now. There's so much good fortune involved in it.
Manhattan just doesn't have. They don't compare to Lawrence very well as far as a smaller, 1,000-seat type place for a concert venue. When I say seats, obviously Lawrence isn't. You're mostly standing, but Lawrence gets decent acts.
Lawrence is a good music town.
It might be a little bit more alternative or a little bit more hipster, but the acts, like if you just go back and look over the last 5 years, the acts that have played in Lawrence, a lot of them have blown up.
If I was a multimillionaire and I won the lottery, 200 million, I would buy the old Carmack theaters and turn it into a concert venue like that.
They need something better than the Wareham.
That's just it's not big enough.
There's so many people there, like you said.
Yeah.
It's not comfortable.
Again, to get the price point that you can sell the tickets and sell enough tickets to pay the artist, you want to break even on that. Okay? You're not making money if you're a bar off selling tickets. You're just trying to pay the artist, and you're trying to sell a bunch of alcohol, but then to sell enough tickets, you got to sell to underage kids, and they're not selling. It's almost impossible marketplace because we don't have big enough venues here because there's not enough demand, and the ticket price gets too high, and then people don't go. It's just I can't imagine dealing with it.
If I won the lottery, I'd tear down Dirty Dogs, tear down the Hat, build something there.
I would agree.
And then I would have probably once a year get some big act, but you don't announce it. You just say you're buying this ticket blind, $50. You get what you get. And then the first year you do something amazing, people miss out on. You don't have to be amazing every year, but good enough.
I agree. A concert venue in
like
Aggieville would be significant. I just think that Carmack Theater is built. It can be carved out. It's a huge structure. It's built for acoustics already.
Yeah.
You could put a bar in one end, a bowling alley maybe, and a concert venue. There you go.
Just make it a main event or a Dave & Buster's.
I don't want games.
From AZCat05,
That's a long answer, by
does
the way.
GPC have an Employee of the Month award? And he misspelled plaque, but he said plague
That's
on the
very
wall.
fitting.
I didn't notice that.
It's very fitting. We got an Employee of the Month plague. Yes.
Yes, Fridge
Yeah, I've
with
won
his
it
Ebola.
I would
won
like
it.
to point out that I am undefeated in the Employee of the Month because I win it for hiring someone that did a great job that month.
But you're not an employee.
I am technically an employee of Spirit Street Publishing, Inc.
You made it.
I'm also the president.
You don't get to be your own employee.
So I'm the Employee of the Month because, Riley, you had a really good month in January, and I hired you.
Logistically, it doesn't make sense that you're an employee.
Oh, so you're one of the bosses that takes all the credit, huh?
I am. I take credit for that. Yes.
What about my videos?
They're very fine. I'm glad I hired you.
They're very fine.
When was the last one you watched?
It's like that commercial. I'm one of the tattoo artists in town.
Have you watched a full video of mine since I became a full-time employee?
Yes. But only the ones I was in because they were outstanding because I was in it.
You haven't been in a video in a year.
Yes.
Last question of the podcast from I Like Pickles Cat. How is the studio coming along?
Yeah, you kind of stepped on that too.
Hey, look.
He was excited to talk about it.
People really survives this podcast from beginning to end, except for guys like I Like Pickles Cat. And we'll put in some more information here because if someone made it all the way through and got to this question, they get a little more loving. The video set for the Power Chat video show that we're going to debut.
Re-debut.
That was like the.
No, it was the pilot. We
It was
filmed
a
a pilot.
pilot.
It was a pilot from
Then it's not a debut. Again.
No. Sometimes you use the pilot as the first episode, and sometimes you just reshoot.
Sometimes you can shoot a new pilot. Like, it's okay.
Yeah, it's okay, man.
Anyways.
We figured out what went wrong, what went right, and the only thing that went right was the host.
What went right? We had someone on the Power
Gene-
Chat.
Breaking. Fitz throws Gene under the bus.
So the only thing good on that show was the host. He was outstanding Employee of the Month. But no, so we sat down then and we were able to conceptualize a better version of it. But honestly, the reason why we didn't do it, because with Bill Snyder at the helm, you couldn't have access to anyone. You couldn't build a set and have football be able to access it to come in here and do a sit-down show, and we're going to be able to do that. Now, players, I don't know yet, but maybe.
It'd be cool.
Maybe. We hope to arrange to have a certain head football coach in here for the debut. We'll see.
Deb?
Yes. Head football coach.
Sorry, you said football. I was just thinking head coach, and I wanted to make it funny.
But the set looks amazing. It's a very confined area that we rented when our roommates moved out, like the Baltimore Colts. And they gave up an office space, which Dim and Dimmer over here are moving into. By the way, you're great employees. I'd like to point that out.
I'm moved into.
We got to get Zach in there by the end of the week. So we picked up this kind of, it was an office area for him, and we're turning it into a multi-purpose staging area, which means we'll be moving stuff around a little bit to access things. But we're in the podcast area to our left. Just how many feet is that? 15 feet?
Ish.
Yeah, free throw?
8 feet?
No.
Wait, you're talking the wall?
Yeah, to the
Oh,
wall.
it's shorter
Oh,
than
okay.
15.
Yeah, it is. Is the video set, and Rocky the Wildcat is staring at us. Rocky has been a member of the staff for a good 10, 15 years.
Rocky's been sitting in a corner since we moved downtown.
And he was on the wall in Aggieville for years, freaking people out. But now Rocky is my co-host. He's right there front and center.
He's an awful co-host if he's over there.
Hey, well, not for the podcast, for the
Oh, yeah, the videos.
yeah, he's right in the middle of everything. An incredible collection of photos will be on the walls. Got a stand-up thing over here behind Zach, the Turkish bath tile wall. We were thinking about having like Marcus Watts and maybe Travis Tannehill come in and do some analysis, but they'll have to wear a robe.
We'll give you guys
I could
a
see
video
Travis doing that.
Travis would wear it.
He would
Yeah.
wear a robe.
Marcus, I'm not wearing a robe.
That's
not wearing a
weird.
robe.
Why,
God.
why do you got God?
I want to be naked.
You don't have to be naked, Marcus.
We'll give you a video tour when it's done.
And then, yeah, we're definitely going to do a video tour. And then we have this other wall for stand-ups, which we'll be using on a regular basis that we still need to finish, but it's going to look incredible. It's going to be a really cool backdrop, I think. Maybe it'll look like ass on video. But it's coming along. There's just so much little finish work. we get close to doing things, and then we realize, we really need a little more backlighting, so we got to put some can lighting in the ceiling, and to further enhance the look of the set. Still painting out in the lobby area because it all connects, and we'll get that signage up. Got some purple lights hung out there. There's real subtle purple lights on the wall, so it's going to look good. It's the finish work, man. The trim work. We still got tape on the baseboard that can come off. That just little stuff like that just drives me wacko. But we made a major breakthrough when Flip and Flap here were on their date in Texas.
So Dim and Dimmer, Flip and Flap. Who's who?
You guys can pick.
Okay. I'm Flip.
I'll be Dim. I don't know.
No, I'm Dim and Flip.
You don't get to be the better one of the two.
No, you first and second. That's how it goes.
That's a good choice by Zach.
I did more work.
I hired him. I'm Employee of the Month for that. That's it for the Powercat Podcast. We appreciate you putting up with us, listening. I hope you enjoyed it. We were a little sour, or a little sweet, and we were a little stupid. We're all those things in one podcast, and we always love the Fridge Wholesale Liquor. Get into the Fridge when you come to town for Saturday's game with the Oklahoma State Cowboys, who are not very good and still somehow won the other night. I can't explain it. Can't figure it out. We'll talk to you next week.
Powercat Podcast. All rights reserved. GoPowercat.com and Spirit Street Publishing.